Second episode begins with Lasher and Emeleth in bed together. Lasher admits before he remembered who he was, he didn't understand why he was here. Now he's ready to make this world beautiful again with Emeleth at his side. However, he believes once their children are born, the family should get the hell out of Dodge with Rowan. Emeleth asks Lasher to tell her about Rowan. Meanwhile, Rowan and Julien, who's masquerading as Cortland, wait outside the Taltos bedchambers. Emeleth should be giving birth any minute now. It takes less time to bake a baby Taltos than a run-of-the-mill human. Thinking he's Cortland, Rowan asks Julien about, Julien's next steps. Julien is evasive. As Emeleth goes into labor, Rowan starts to lose consciousness. Julien spiked her beverage. Before the lights go out, though, Rowan's biological magic kicks in, and she sees Cortland is really Julien. After this, Julien reunites with Ian, who's hard at work preparing for the harvest. Julien urges his son to lay off Rowan. They can use her. Having her present during the harvest will increase their magical strength tenfold. Ian sends one of his sons to fetch Lasher to perform his part in the upcoming festivities. Meanwhile, Polina sends a message to the Talamasca via ley lines while trapped with Cyprian in the Mayfair's underground prison cells. Cip and Polina communicate in Dutch to throw off their Mayfair prison guard. Cip whips out one of his truth patches and suggests Polina distract the guard while he slaps a patch on him. Then, a few men carry an unconscious Rowan to a nearby cell. Cip realizes that the Mayfairs want Rowan as far away from Lasher as possible for whatever happens next. Polina calls over the guard and gives Cip enough time to put a truth patch on him. The guard releases them from their cell. Elsewhere, Moira and Fiona drink and play games. Moira pretends to read Fiona's mind, using this as a distraction while slipping a blade under the latter's chin. Moira shoves Fiona into a closet before barreling out of there. Later, Julien takes Lark hostage to undoubtedly dangle before Rowan to ensure she doesn't act out. Remember, he's stitched in with the family now. Lasher hangs out in the room while Emeleth goes into labor. However, he's swiftly given the boot because of archaic gender stereotypes. The man can't be present while his lady gives birth to ineffable magical entities. Cip wakes up Rowan, who believes he's trying to harm her. Polina reassures her that Cip would never hurt her. Rowan's powers are in full force here. She's got a case of the lightning fingers. Cip tells her that he understands what Lasher is now. He doesn't want to kill Lasher. Cip wants to help Rowan protect him. They're finally on the same side again. Also, the Talamasca are on their way, and who can say no to reinforcements? Meanwhile, Lasher joins Julien, Ian, and Ian's sons for a morning forest ceremony. Lasher learns that said ceremony will strengthen his children. Lasher recognizes Julien, while he recognizes the latter as Cortland, Rowan's father. After reciting a prayer to the spirits of the glen, Ian and the others restrain Lasher. They slice his throat. His blood pours into a bowl. They almost drain every last drop of blood before leaving him in the woods to die. We see flowers sprout forth where Lasher falls on the ground. Next, Moira disguises herself as one of the women assisting with the Taltos children in the harvest. She even sports a Scottish accent, and it ain't too shabby. We see Emeleth and Lasher's babies are now bona fide toddlers. Later, Rowan, Cip, and Polina find Lasher's body in the woods. Rowan panics. He's lost a lot of blood. However, Rowan miraculously revives him, but not before she confesses her love for him. Meanwhile, Julien traces a cross on the foreheads of the Taltos children in Lasher's blood. Elsewhere, Moira helps set the table for the harvest. She sees Lasher and Emeleth's toddlers being led to a tent. Inside, there's a table. And guess what's on the menu? Children. The Mayfairs plan to drink the blood of the Taltos children to give themselves more power. Taltos blood boasts magical properties. But first, though, Julien plans to sweeten their blood by feeding them ice cream. Moira reunites with Rowan and finally sees Lasher. Rowan apologizes to Moira for leaving her with Fiona. Moira accepts the apology before telling them about Julien's plan. Lasher wants to barrel into the situation headfirst to save his kids before they become lunch. Sure enough, he, Rowan, and Moira square off against Ian and his sons. Ian brings out Lark, reminding Rowan of what happens if she lays a hand on the Mayfairs. Lark gets it. Julien makes his grand entrance, flying into battle. He drank Lasher's blood, which enhanced his abilities significantly. The wolf attacks Ian, who stabs the poor creature to death. However, Wolf doesn't shuffle off this mortal coil without killing Ian. Lasher takes on Ian's sons as Lark sneaks off with Moira to help get the Taltos kids to safety. Rowan stays outside to assist Lasher in the fight. Inside the Mayfair residence, one man tackles Lark, throwing him into a separate room and locking it before Moira can save him. Thankfully, Lark manages to overpower and slaughter Homeboy despite having zero combat experience. Lasher takes out almost all his enemies on the battlefield with Rowan's help. Unfortunately, Amintha hurls an axe at Lasher, embedding it into his chest. Rowan strikes Amintha with lightning. Rowan kneels over Lasher as he dies again. Sip and Polina arrive with Talamasca reinforcements. They notice the force field around the Mayfair residence, which an agent penetrates with little effort. Meanwhile, Julien tries to get Rowan to drink Lasher's blood. Lasher's dead, but she can revive him with his blood in her veins. She can also bring back the Mayfair women he killed. Rowan and Julien would be unstoppable together. Rowan resists doing this. It's unclear whether she's resisting because she genuinely doesn't want to consume her son or lover's blood, or if she's stalling so Sip and Polina can rescue the Taltos children. However, enough time passes that Sip, Polina, and the Talamasca agents flee with the kids. Unfortunately, Julien throws lightning bolts at Sip and Polina as they race toward a portal with the children. Sip picks up his kid, but inexplicably, Polina doesn't do the same. Julien strikes her with a bolt. Sip apologizes after the children are through the portal before he vanishes. Rowan witnesses all this transpire. Julien tells Rowan he can save Polina before disappearing himself. Rowan returns to Lasher's body and the bowl full of blood. She consumes it all. Then, we see Rowan levitate above the ground as flowers bloom rapidly around Lasher's corpse. Later, Rowan, Lark, and Moira prepare to return to America. Moira informs them that the Taltos children are safe with Sip and the Talamasca. Sip's aware that Julien will come for the kids. He's taking all the necessary measures to protect them. Also, Emilith is missing in action. Moira leaves Rowan and Lark alone to get coffee. Lark admits he doesn't want to stick around to see what happens next. He doesn't trust Rowan with all that power. Rowan claims she doesn't even need a vial of Lasher's blood anymore since it's in her veins. She can free Jojo and Daphne from the thrall herself. Then, she'll take that position at Mayfair Medical and use her abilities to heal people. Since they're breaking up, Rowan can't let Lark wander free with all that magical Mayfair knowledge in his noggin. She implements Dolly Jean's memory spell. This means Lark won't even recall how they met. Lark jokes that if he's ever in New Orleans, Rowan should introduce herself and flirt with him. You know, for old time's sake. Later, Rowan and Moira return to the First Street house in New Orleans. It's in utter disrepair. Dolly Jean welcomes them inside, but we don't see her. We also don't see Jojo and Daphne as Rowan frees them from the thrall.